Let's discuss. Hey everyone, it's Rachel back again with another video, and today I will be checking out a new track from Code Orange, which features Billy Corgan, who is the vocalist and really just a huge part of the band The Smashing Pumpkins, which I find the combination of Code Orange and Billy to be very interesting. I'm curious how that will translate, which obviously we won't wait too long to find out. I will link the music video I'll be using in the reaction portion of this, as well as all of the band's social media, promotional links, merch, in the description of this video. I'm going to stop talking and we are going to get straight into it. Oh. Waste no time to groove, okay?
Today I lost reality. A severed head was in its place. Today the smoke screen faded away. The desert of the real remain. They all live by my design. We exist in all confined into a world that has no why. I think that it might finally be time. I say every little tale, every look and every breath. I feel for out of tune, out of touch with higher good. So suck it back, postulate, drink it in, suffocate. So if this isn't, then celebrate. Just spread your wings.
Weird combination of sounds I'm picking out here.
Today I swerved across two ways. A rotting corpse was in the way. You pinched my hand, but I pulled away. It felt like touching right decay. Is this all just by design? Surrounded by your cardboard signs. Scenery that has no why. I think that it might. I say every little tale, every look and every breath. I feel for out of tune, out of touch with higher good. So suck it back, postulate, drink it in, suffocate. So if this isn't, then celebrate. Just spread your wings. Spread your wings, show us who you are. Spread your wings, you'll go far. Show us all, show us who you are. Spread your wings. I say every little tale, every look and every breath. I feel for out of tune, out of touch with higher good. So suck it back, postulate, drink it in, suffocate. So if this isn't, then celebrate. Just spread your wings.
Code Orange, take shape. Let's discuss. this is a very interesting song. And honestly, with this band, I have one of their albums on vinyl. It's a very neat looking variant. I pre-ordered it when their last album came out, and I've listened to that in full. But otherwise, I'm not super well versed in Code Orange. So I just want to start out by saying that I have listened to The Game, which is another track that's recent from them. And just going off of that sound and this one, this feels very much like almost 90s grunge bands all grown up, almost like some of the vocals and, you know, if you look at the presentation in the chorus, I think that's a really good example of what I'm talking about. Just something in the delivery there, and even in some of the pronunciation and stuff, it just very much has that vibe to me. But at the same time, it has a lot of attitude, a lot of stuff that's newer kind of injected in there. So that's the all grown up part that I mean. I'm just imagining them, you know, a band from a grunge band from the 90s, getting in a time machine, coming here, doing all the studying of, like, maybe they study Code Orange's discography or something, and then seeing if they can't make it in, like, their sound into present day. I would 100% believe that. And that's kind of excluding the feature. The feature is, I was wondering if it would be just super different than I was expecting. I can't say I'm any type of versed in the Smashing Pumpkins other than hits and things like that. I haven't done like a discography deep dive or anything, but I do know who they are pretty well. I could name a few big songs. The Contortionist has a cover of a Smashing Pumpkins track. So I know who they are and stuff, but I wasn't sure how a feature would work in something like this. And it works very well, especially when you're taking into account the music video. It felt very cinematic at that point. You have like the TV screen as the feature comes on. That all feels very well thought out. And I think the music video is a big like bridge to kind of make that work even further. Because when you look at just those two sounds, it's very much a different vibe, a different feel than the song leading up to that, but it feels like a break in it to kind of give attention to what's happening with that shift and such. And then there are moments where the vocals just take a total, like, you know, there's like one single word where it's like deep and I think has some sort of effect on it, but that happens twice in the song. So I'm very curious. I think now I should go back and re-listen to the album that I was talking about. I own it on vinyl, so I could just throw it on and give it a proper listen, because I do know they have a very chaotic feel to them. They do a lot of stuff. I've talked recently, I think it was in my Monasteries video, and I'm not sure if I will have posted that first or if I'll be posting it next after this video, but I was talking in that video about production, and I a lot of what I listen to has a very clean approach, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it all has singing or anything. What it means is that you can pick things out really well. There's not a ton of distortion. And with Code Orange, I think it kind of refreshes my interests and stuff that's a little bit outside of what I'm usually listening to, because they go for that kind of unpolished sound on their, like, production wise, intentionally. It's a style. It's something I don't listen to a ton of, but whenever I check out something from Code Orange, I'm like, oh yeah, there are parts of this that don't super click for me. Like having the style of vocals I'm talking about in the chorus, it's a very different feeling for me. I'm not listening to anything that sounds like that, but it's not something that I'm disliking. So it's just something that pushes you a little bit outside your listening comfort zone. In terms of how I feel about that, I really don't know, because I'm so not used to it, but it was a song that I felt like I was digging the whole time. So I feel it's something that could push me further. I'll see how I do repeat value wise. I'm not 100% sure that this will be something I find myself coming back to a lot because of that reason. I don't think that it's a style that I'm like, oh, I could put this on repeat all day and be fine, because of where my interests lie, and the things that I am listening to a lot are very different from this. For some people, it doesn't sound that way. You know, a lot of people who aren't involved in any sort of genre that has screaming in it just see it as like screamo, and like all of that is in one realm. When, you know, when you're heavily involved in it, or any type of involved in it, you're familiar with the styles that there are. It's all very different, and it can be, you know, you can both enjoy screaming music whatever subgenre of metal. I definitely am not one to use the word screamo. But you know, when people are looking from the outside, and it's like anything, you're either into it or you're not, and you don't have interest, so you have no idea. There are probably a billion genres that I have no idea and would use some sort of like terminology that would make people who do listen to it go, oh, man, no. But I've got so off topic here. Anyway, the point being, it's not something that I would normally lean towards, especially I think between this track and the game would be more my style, even though it still has that, like, you know, I think with Code Orange, it's intentional and it's present through their discography, having that sort of like muddied sound that it's a style choice. So, but even beyond that, there is a lot of variety in this track. It's not a super lengthy track. Sometimes when you get that amount of variety, it's really leaned into the progressive subgenres and has a really long runtime where you go through stuff like The Summoning by Sleep Token. That's a very popular proggy song this year, and it's got a longer runtime. Things like that. And then you have some bands who like lean into that chaos, and you have a shorter runtime, and it just goes through what it goes through. I feel with this one, it's not over the top chaotic or anything, but when you listen to the variety of vocals you get, sometimes there's a little bit of spoken that gives off almost that same attitude that like Muse gives off in certain places. I think a lot of bands are kind of taking influence there, but Code Orange, I wouldn't really say is one of them. I think if you listen, even the little knowledge I have on their discography, I know that they've always kind of had that you don't know what to expect sort of sound, which is a pretty wide label. There are a lot of things that could fall under that umbrella, but listening to this song, you can hear that it goes from what I'm talking about with that sort of spoken and slow. The instrumentation is slowed down a little bit, and it progresses from there to screaming. And then there's the style in the chorus that I was talking about feels completely different to what we're speaking about here. And you still have the feature to get to from that point forward. So a lot going on in this track. And yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts. It's not a lot of what I'm normally listening to, but it's put together in a way that really works for me. So it could go one way or the other. It could be a grower for me because there's a lot of groove here too. There was a lot of stuff that it's just hard not to move to. And that's a big win for me. I think if I can, vibe with it in that way or connect with it in a way where I want to move to it a lot, I think that helps me want to revisit it, because typically those are things that when I'm thinking of the song in my head, even after a listen, I can hear those parts or at least a certain groove from those parts. And then I become to that point where I'm like, oh, I should listen to this song because I kind of have that part stuck in my head. So that's why I think it has the potential. It's definitely not a no from me. I do think it's a band that I need to dive further into some of their older stuff, because it pushes me outside of that comfort zone. And I think bands like that are very important in listening, because there are certain bands that have done that. And I've even said stuff like this about, and then, 3 months down the line when I've gone through the discography, I get attached to certain songs, and then suddenly I'm a big fan of said band and jumping into various other bands that are similar, do something that this band takes influence from, whatever the case may be. So while it's not 100% me, it is a song that I think I could see on certain playlists too. Even if it doesn't become a routine listen for me, this is good for like a summer driving playlist or any sort of highway driving playlist. That's how it strikes me. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I will link all of the band's social media, the music video I used in the reaction portion of this, all of that in the description. You can also find my link tree there that has everything related to the channel that you may need, the Discord server invite link, my Patreon, Twitch, all of which I'm going to be heavily focusing on now that I am moved into my new office and ready to get going. A lot of YouTube videos, request streams will be coming back on the 25th of July, which at the time I'm filming this is a week away from today. So all of that will be going. I'm going to redo the tiers on Patreon to offer more. Right now it has everything I do offer though, so it'll only go up from there if you're interested in checking that out. We have a bunch of homies in the Discord server. It's actually how I found the first video I recorded in the office here, was through them hyping it up, and I very much trust their opinion. We have a lot of great people in there, just a music loving community. So if you're interested in joining, checking that out, that will be there as always. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.